غنوة حلوة وغنوتين حلوة يا بلدي.
Welcome to this episode of our program Money Means Business. Today we'll be speaking about a revolution Egypt has been witnessing, a real revolution for the urban societies, the building of new cities, the elimination of slums, developing unsafe areas, expanding the construction of new integrated urban cities, or establishing housing units in existing cities, all at all categories. This in a bid, of course, to cope with the overpopulation the country is witnessing, but also for opening up to foreign direct investments and creating job opportunities and much more. Egypt has already started with building new cities. Around 50 cities will be totally built, completed by 2050, but the issue started already since a few years, and we've been witnessing those new smart cities, which is another leap in Egypt's national strategy for housing. President Fattah al-Sisi has always been keen to follow up this national strategy of the housing ministry, and the plans are put by the government already to eliminate the slums, to create new urban developmental areas, and also with the new cities. Tonight we'll be speaking about that. Tonight we'll be discussing this unprecedented urban revolution the country is seeing. We'll be speaking about the Egyptian national strategy for housing that will be thoroughly discussed during this episode. Before we start with our discussion, first let's have this look on this report with President Sisi's meeting with the Prime Minister, Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, and the Housing Minister, Dr. Asim Al-Gazzar, on projects being carried out by the Housing Ministry across all Egypt or across the governorates. Let's watch the report and we'll come back for more discussion.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met with Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli and Dr. Asim Al-Gazzar, Minister of Housing, Utilities and Urban Communities. The official spokesman for the Presidency of the Republic stated that the meeting dealt with a review of the executive position of the national projects of the Ministry of Housing, especially the Greater Transfiguration Project over the Land of Peace in Sinai, the cities of New Mansoura, New Alamein and Sawari, as well as the development of the historic Cairo area, as well as a series of housing projects for all Egyptians. In this context, Dr. Asim Al-Gazzar presented the progress of work in a number of new cities at the level of the Republic, pointing to the completion of work in the new city of Mansoura with a length of 15 kilometers directly on the Mediterranean coast, with all its components from residential neighborhoods of all kinds, places of worship and a medical care center, commercial and service buildings. It's worth noting that New Mansoura is one of the fourth-generation cities that was launched by presidential decree in 2018, so that work will continue on it in order to include this city in the urban revolution to create new cities. Soon the New Mansoura was newly established, but it rose to the throne of the coastal cities located on the Mediterranean Sea, such as Alexandria and New Alamein. It was helped by its varying geographical nature between the desert areas towards the beach and the agriculture areas towards the delta. The meeting dealt with presenting the developments of work in the greatest transfiguration over the Land of Peace project in Sinai, with all its hotel, tourist and service components, roads and access leading to the site. The Great Manifestation project is based on replanning the entire city and preserving it as a nature reserve by highlighting the dimension and the traditional Bedouin character of the people of St. Catherine, not to mention taking sustainable development criteria into account when implementing the development work. As for the slogan Tajalli in itself, it is an Arabic word that refers to appearing or coming out to the light, where the President directed to continue making all efforts to present this sacred spot in the land of Egypt to humanity and to all visitors from all over the world in appreciation of its unique spiritual value that stems from being an incubator of the three religions. On the sidelines of the meeting, the President touched on the development of the historic Cairo area, which aims to restore the civilized face of Cairo, including the ongoing development process in the Magra al-Ayoun Mall, directing his sovereignty not to limit the development to ancient historical and archaeological monuments only, but also to all lands and sites adjacent to them. In a related context, the state has been keen to storm the file of slums and the most dangerous areas since 2013, thanks to the directives of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to provide a decent life worthy of the Egyptian citizen. And the view of the slums file, which had been neglected by previous governments for 30 years, changed completely, as the view changed from neglect to attention and direction towards development, the establishment of social housing projects, and the development of unsafe areas. The slum development system in Egypt has also become a model for other experiences in many countries from the world, and Egypt is one of the best countries in developing slums in the world, and there are Arab countries that benefit from the Egyptian experience.
Welcome back, and to highlight this issue after this report that has summed up all the developments in all Egypt, particularly in the housing status and the urban communities. Let me here welcome our distinguished guest, Dr. Yasser Mahgoub, Professor of Architectural Engineering. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
And as we've seen in the report, and as we are witnessing, in reality, Egypt is really witnessing what they call the golden age in urban development.
Mm-hmm. True.
We are seeing mega projects that are being carried out to eliminate slums, to start with creating or constructing new cities. I mean, here from the very easy projects to the very important ones. Let me take here, first of all, how you read this age that we are speaking about and this kind of development Egypt is witnessing.
Thank you very much for having me tonight. I think this is the most important topic for everyone. Housing is, or the house, a second, is where everyone lives, and it's something that people spend their entire life preparing for, looking for, improving, expanding, changing. But it's part of their social life, economic life, political life, culture, human intimacy. It's something dear for everyone. Housing, we look at it as a phenomenon that has evolved throughout history. In Egypt, it started to change dramatically since 1940. Between 1940 and 1990, we have seen several events and changes and legislations and political systems and approaches that really change the nature of the house and how people relate to it. The wars that we have gone through have affected dramatically how the production of the house, the amount, the quality, the informality, the formality, the government, the non-government. All these issues were influenced by mainly the impact of war and economic conditions, and how the availability of materials and concrete and steel and brick in the market affected it. The other major thing is the legislations and the rent laws that have dramatically changed the nature of the house and the relationship between the tenant and the landlord and the quality of the environment itself. We now see three main forces that shape the housing in Egypt. First is the government houses, and we see now that the government is really trying to provide affordable housing, decent housing for all levels of economic
all standards
of all people in the country, not only, as we have seen in some political regimes, low-cost housing. Everyone was thinking about low-cost housing, and low-cost housing produced low-quality housing. And we have spent many years with these ugly, inhuman buildings that people lived for many years. Now the government is producing decent, good quality housing for the different levels, the different economic levels of the society. And this is unprecedented. And it was needed to really make the market evolve and reflect this image of the housing strategy and Egypt Vision 2030 in a concrete way. And the other force that is producing housing in the country is the private sector. And private sector also is now working with the government, so it's a win-win situation. They produce what they can make profit from, but at the same time they produce part of their projects as public houses.
As partners to the states in
this
implementing.
was missing for many years, but the relationship between the government and the private sector. Also, the private sector is addressing the ambitions of the high-income, high-level Egyptians, and this is also part of the society. These are not aliens, people, but this is part of the society that has its needs and has its potentials and economic standards. So now we are addressing all. The third and major force in producing housing is the informal housing. And the informal housing is not dead, it's not stopped. It is continuing to produce. And the statistics show that 50% of the housing is produced by informal sector.
Informal in terms of non-licensed,
non-licensed, on
agricultural lands and all the
we don't see it around because it's inside the villages, the countryside, in remote areas. We don't feel it, but it exists. It exists and it's producing. And 25% is produced by the private sector, and 25% is
not the
produced
private
by
sector.
the
Let's
public.
say individuals.
Individuals is yes. This is called private also. And if I buy a land and I build a house formally with license on a property purchased and everything. This is private. This is still private, not produced by the government. So private, it's not only real estate developers. No, it's individuals also. This is what we put them all together. But the informal is a strong potential that can be organized, that can be legalized and put as a major player in the. It's different than the shanty towns and the slums.
Yes.
This is something different.
Yes.
Of course, these are.
It's totally different than the haphazard housing that has been happening with damaging the whole scene.
And there are areas that are hazardous for human beings, for health, and this of course most of them are already eradicated, and the government are utilizing this area to make better housing for people. So, because most of this is located in prime locations, believe it or not. Most of these are inside the city. They are close to jobs. They are close to transportation, and these locations can be utilized in producing better communities, job opportunities, work facilities, and with the people, they can, as they did in Maspero, who would like to come back, can come back in a proper, decent, quality housing. If they don't, there are other opportunities or compensation and so forth. So I think there is a larger vision.
An integrated strategy, national
between
strategy
private,
for housing.
between public, between individuals. So all this is really a major change in the equation of production of housing in Egypt now.
If I may here divide what you said, sir, into 3 sections, and I will start with the first section, which is eradicating or eliminating slums.
Yes.
Because this is a very important step that has been taken. Not eliminating slums in terms of just destroying or destructing houses, no, but building new houses that are decent. With the slogan of the new republic we aspire for, that says leave no one behind.
Exactly.
Because this is the issue. So we're speaking here about 2 issues in that concerns. We're speaking about eradicating or eliminating slums and starting a new housing, decent housing units, and at the same time renovating the construction or the restructuring the old cities with the old areas that have a remarkable history.
Yes.
So from your point of view, how do you view the significance and the importance of such a step the state has carried out with, before we move on to other sectors, of course?
Of course, Cairo and the major cities, Alexandria and other cities in Egypt, they have historical parts. And this is a treasure, a valuable part of each city, that wherever you go in the world, any city, you open the map, you look at where is the historical part. This is where I start from. And I visit the historical part, and then I start to go around, look at some other neighborhoods and stuff like that. So everyone, I was coming from Tahrir Square to Maspero.
The renovation
now,
of Tahrir
the
Square is
renovation, the
enormous.
lighting, it's beautiful atmosphere, and this evening it's a pleasant weather, so it was a nice walk from Tahrir to here. Every city, its heart, its life is in the downtown, in the old part of it. And of course, our historical Cairo and Islamic Cairo is a very important part that really needs a facelift. And now the project to upgrade this part and provide services and eliminate any pollution or any hazardous from the area, and create tours. And it's a huge area starting from Bab Zuwayla and Bab al-Nasr all the way through Al Muizz Street, to Al Ghori, to Bab Zuwela, and Suq al-Silah, all the way until Darb al-Ahmar, all the way to until Sultan Hassan and Rifai. And this is an important part that integrates with Al-Azhar Park, that is already it's very significant open park in Cairo. This is one part. When we just move a little bit from this, we find Sur Magra al-Uyun, and the area is now being renovated and clean, and all the leather factories are moved to Rubeki in decent, professional setting, away from the polluted, low quality.
Even the renovation of the historical sites, we've seen all the entrance until the pyramids in the area of the pyramids of Giza, and we've seen many other remarkable places that are being renovated, not just in Cairo or
Don't
Giza.
forget the new National Museum at
the Grand Museum.
That's Civilization
The
Museum,
Civilization
and the Ain al-Sira, the area around it became beautiful after it was polluted lake and very deserted. Now it's beautiful scene and beautiful area, and the accessibility through the bridges and roads became very easy to these ports. So I think that is something not only for tourism. Of course, we would love to welcome everyone from around the world to our country. But first of all, we are proud of our place.
Because this is the theme of the new republic we aspire for,
yes,
indeed.
And we love to go there ourselves and walk in these old parts. It's not only for tourists, it's also for us.
Yes.
So our loving these places is reflected to everyone outside.
This is part of the story. Also, eliminating slums.
Yes, definitely.
Because we have been seeing what the kind of life people were living in slum and in rural areas, where it was an indecent housing life.
Yes.
And and how do you think the world looked at such a step the state is carrying out with, particularly with creating this decent atmosphere? The state is working to put the citizen in.
We're not the only country that has slums. There are many countries around the world that has slums, and the slums are a product of, as I said, events, conditions, economic, social, wars, especially. We see slums in Rio de Janeiro, in Brazil. We see slums in Mumbai, in India, in every country we see that. How to deal with it is difficult, because they provide opportunity for cheap housing, close to job opportunities, close to transportation. So there is a lot of research about informal settlements around the world, and how to look at it as a potential, not only a hazard, and how to benefit from these exact locations and provide opportunities and quality of life for people by eliminating the hazardous parts and the dangerous slums. Socially,
we all remember Douia and the Maspero triangle and all those dangers.
Yes. Hizbat al-Urud. We have seen, we have been a lot of these areas. And most of them are history now for us. We don't see them anymore. They became parks, they become upgraded areas.
Those people were transferred into Asmarat, into the Bashair al-Khair 1 and 2 and 3, and into other decent housing units.
It's a win-win situation. The government is using this property in a better way, and is providing decent quality housing for for the people who were living
Yes,
there.
and my director, is reminding me with Raudat al-Sayyida Zainab.
Yes, yeah, well, now you know if you try to talk about all projects, it's impossible because now we have many projects in all areas in transportation, in housing, in fisheries, in industries, in
And now
everything.
we're moving into another area which also needs to be highlighted. The semi-islands
Mhm.
over the Nile,
Yes, like
Al-Warra,
Al-Warra
for an
and
instance.
Jazirat
and
al-Dahab
others.
and all these.
How do you view the strategy of the state in order to, let's say, make it more appealing, or rather renovate these areas in a way that really cope with the national urbanization strategy?
I think it's definitely a precious piece of land that is in the middle of the Nile. It has views from different directions. It is connected through bridges and transportation by Nile or by water or by cars. So it is connected. It is in a prime location. So it's a good potential for utilization. Again, it should be a win-win situation between the already residing people in the islands and the new developing and projects to improve the quality of urban in the island. Again, but it also should be providing large landscape areas, gardens and open areas and places that are not constructed as buildings and towers. It should so it should be a good planning and provide opportunity for people to visit, and because we are lacking now a good number of parks, gardens in the city. We have lost, of course, the Azbakiya garden. It was a beautiful part of Cairo. Inshallah, after they finish the underground, they can bring it back with the Continental Hotel and Opera, and maybe we can also bring back the Opera to its original location and get rid of this ugly parking structure that is sitting there. There are many projects in that regard. That and also Al Qahira Al Khidawiyya project. This is excellent project, and also transforming many streets into pedestrian streets only. Beautiful experience and really humanizing the city and make it more appealing for people to visit and stay in.
And from that, we move on to the new cities. And we're speaking about those mega projects.
Yes.
But before we start with discussing new cities, because new cities have lots and lots of significance, yes. One on the social level and the other on the economic one. Before we move on with our discussion, let's see one of the most beautiful new cities that Egypt has all the pride and the proudness to inaugurate and see its beauty recently when Egypt hosted this 5-way Arab summit at the new city of Alameen. New city of Alameen that revealed the size of the urban renaissance Egypt is witnessing. Let's watch.
Last week, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received in Al Alamein, in the presence of Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, President of the Emirates, King Abdullah II bin Al Hussein, King of Jordan, King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, King of Bahrain, and Mustafa Al Kazimi, Iraqi Prime Minister. The official spokesman for the presidency, Ambassador Bassem Radi, stated that President el-Sisi welcomed the visit of Egypt's distinguished guests in a special meeting. The spokesman added that the meeting witnessed an exchange of views between the leaders on enhancing various aspects of bilateral relations and optimizing all available areas to enhance cooperation between them. This is the first high-level summit hosted by the coastal city of Al Alamein, unlike what Egypt used to hold in the capital Cairo and the resort of Sharm el-Sheikh on the Red Sea. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and the distinguished guests of Egypt also inspected the new city of Al Alamein and Regal Heights Resort and its tourist facilities. Senate deputies stressed that choosing the new city of Al Alamein to host the 5-year summit revealed the size of the urban renaissance that Egypt witnessed, especially with regard to smart cities, which represents a source of attraction for Arab and foreign investments. In addition to contributing to the promotion of tourism with new destinations and support for summer tourism in Egypt, especially after the unprecedented development witnessed by this city, it's one of the 4th-generation cities which was implemented on the Mediterranean coast with an area of 49,000 acres. The new city of Al Alamein, on whose territory the historic Battle of Al Alamein took place, has a special symbolism, especially as it was one of the sites of World War II, which was planted with millions of mines, which over the course of decades turned into a hotbed for mines. Choosing the new city of Al Alamein to host the 5-year summit is a political inauguration of the new city of Al Alamein to become a new headquarters to host more meetings, conferences, and summits in the coming period. Former Egyptian Assistant Foreign Minister Ambassador Mohammed Higazi says that this reality was changed by the will of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and the Egyptian armed forces, as the city of Al Alamein was completely cleared of mines and this area adjacent to the Mediterranean was prepared to be a destination for Arab and foreign investments. And he continues, it is not possible to hide the symbolism that the new city of Al Alamein, which was designed according to international standards and includes centers for international business and trade, residential towers, and luxury tourist resorts, is being revived with Arab investment. He continues that it will be an episode within an integrated vision towards the localization of industries and investment in the Arab region, and will serve as a criterion for benefiting from the gains achieved by joint Arab action.
This beautiful city is one of the cities that are being built or has been or Egypt has been building, particularly in the past throughout the past years, and Egypt is continuing on until 2050 when 15 new cities will be completely built. We're speaking about the future, a promising future for Egypt. Here, Dr. Mahgoub, let me take, how do you view holding such a summit in this very distinguished city, the new city of Alamein? Because we're not just speaking about the new city of Alamein, we're speaking about new cities, Mansoura, Suez Canal, Galila, as you said, respectively, before we start our episode here, and all these cities. Let me take here, how do you read these cities?
We consider these cities the 4th generation of cities in Egypt, and these are considered smart, sustainable cities. They address sustainability in all its aspects: environmental, economic, and human. The cities are completely different than the traditional cities that we used to have in the past. Each city has a theme or an identity that it's presenting itself to people in a different way. Alamein on the Mediterranean Sea, just across from Athens and Rome and
Actually, Sicily.
France, yes, Sicily, Cyprus, and it's part of the Mediterranean, and it's reflecting the image and identity of the Mediterranean city, and it's gaining momentum now with the completion of its services and its buildings, and its skyline from the Mediterranean is now very visible from a distance. Al-Galala city on the Red Sea, overlooking the entrance of the Suez Canal, and Sinai on the other side, and of course the Galala University as a major driving force behind the city, on 700 meters above sea level on the mountain, and the Galala Resort with its port for entrance to Egypt from the Red Sea, and of course improving the quality of the Galala, of the Sokhna Za'farana area, and the expected new Suez city that is going to be built just beside the Sokhna port, north of Sokhna port, and we also have Mansoura city, new city, and the Ismailia new city. We have many new developments that are not typical, not usual.
Those cities, what do they serve? Because many people would say, at the backdrop of all the crises and world economic problems that are really happening, and we are building big cities, what do those big cities serve?
The world has gone through many economic problems before. This is not the end of the world by any means. This is just another stage of evolution, and the difficulties, and it will pass. And we cannot just stop at every instance and not work anymore. No, we might slow down with the difficulties and then pick up again, but we cannot stop. Countries and civilizations, if they stop, they die. They cannot stop. They have to continuously build and improve and change, and this is life. So the new cities that are coming up in Egypt now, they have the theme of sustainability, smart cities, cyclic economies that they can have. They can produce economies on their own. They don't depend on Cairo again, as we used to have in the previous generation of cities. They depend on big cities. They have to relate to it. No, they can be independent, like a university city, like Galala, like Alamein. It has also a Alamein University. And these are national universities that serve another sector of the society that needs these types of national universities. We are expanding. The population is increasing. We need to provide services and housing. Housing alone is never enough. Housing needs education, needs health, needs jobs, needs transportation.
And that's
Yes.
another face of the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Jobs, opportunities, investments, which we are in real need for attracting investments. How far? I mean, when we started the housing, this urbanization strategy, we started with the infrastructure, moving on to energy, moving on to all relevant services, up till the new cities.
Mm-hmm.
How far do those issues that or the reconstruction of the infrastructure, the energy, and then the new cities opened up new horizons for investments. And we're speaking here about not just new cities, but new cities and new logistic and industrial areas in those new cities. So from your point of view, how does that first open horizons for attracting new investments, and at the same time open horizons for job opportunities at the same time?
Investments are not only in one sector. They can happen in different sectors. They can happen in industry, agriculture, education, tourism, conferences, events. It can happen in many different ways.
Yes.
And I think each city has its own theme that is attracting investment and producing job opportunities. A university, for example, creates thousands of job opportunities, starting from its construction all the way to its operation. Hotels, they also create jobs from their construction to their operation. Factories, they create jobs. Fisheries, and these investments will never happen if you don't have a good quality, not only transportation, but good quality transportation, communication, internet, services, facilities, and the housing and health care, and it's a network. They are all interrelated, so to make things happen. So the big projects, they have to be done by the government. Private sectors cannot make these kinds of roads or electricity.
We're speaking here about more than 4,164 projects that are being implemented nationwide. And we're speaking here about many of the, how can we say, the renovation that has been made. For an instance, the people of Egypt walkway. For an instance, the new Aswan city. Of course, Upper Egypt has seen lots and lots of projects. The Coronation New Mansoura, the Coronation New Alamein, the new city of Rashid, the Green River in the new administrative capital. What we're speaking about is how did those new cities make value for lands that used to be desert?
Yes, exactly. Land is not valuable if there is no infrastructure. In the desert, it's there, but no one cares about it until you provide transportation, roads, electricity, sanitary, water, all these services. This is the value of land. Then it becomes valuable for investment, for sale, for utilization by anyone. So the government is doing its job, because this cannot be done by private sector. They cannot make roads and electricity power stations. They cannot make water supply or desalination. This has to be done by the government. And I think providing this was a good opportunity to start to have investors from different parts of the world. And don't forget, people are coming closer to our areas to make investment. The Neom city in Saudi Arabia is just across the Aqaba Gulf from Sharm el-Sheikh.
Yes.
Because this is a prime location, because you already have people coming to Sharm el-Sheikh from everywhere in the world. So Neom city is just across from there. So we are not only attracting investment inside Egypt, we are attracting investment around Egypt because of what is happening inside the country as well.
Yes. I have 1 minute left for me here.
Okay.
And in this 1 minute, I just need a conclusion to how far are we on the right track?
We are doing our best, and the need for housing never stops. There is always increase in the need of housing, and there are more opportunities and more strategies and more visions that can be implemented to provide quality of life, decent housing, affordable housing for everyone. But again, housing is not enough. Housing has to be with jobs, with entertainment, with health, with education, because building houses alone is not enough. And I think the current government already know this vision and is working on providing it in its projects.
Guess I'd leave it at here, and I thank you so much, Dr. Yasser Mahgoub, Head of the Environment Development Unit at Al Jalila University, Professor of Architectural Engineering. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
The pleasure is all ours.
Thank you.
And dear viewers, many thanks for watching. That takes us to the end of this episode, to more of our programs in this upcoming hour. Many thanks for watching, and good night.